months, we've been talking about how to wear a mask, what kind of mask. So cloth mask, 2 layers, perfectly fine. We talk about wearing those surgical disposable masks, totally fine, because this is all about just keeping our droplets to ourselves. So we put them on over our nose and our mouth, snug fit. We've been talking about this. So every time I see somebody walking around like this, I feel like I have personally failed because no. Your nose is so important to cover because University of North Carolina actually did a study showing that the cells in your nose are more likely to become infected with and to transmit COVID-19. So it's super important to keep the nose covered.
I'm so glad you say that. I see people walking around with it under their
You want the chin guard. I don't get this either. What is this?
That's
Is this like you just want brownie points? The mask is there, but
I'm
You had
wearing
a great visual in one of your stories, I think it was last month, where you had a candle.
yeah.
If you could blow out the candle through your mask, then you shouldn't be wearing that mask.
Exactly. That's a great test, and that's why we talk about gaiters and why gaiters are too thin because they're not going to keep everything from your sneeze to yourself or your cough or whatever. And let's also talk about like how do we remove our mask. I think it's really important to remind people you don't want to be touching your mask. That's why it's important to have a snug fit. It doesn't move around when you're talking. You're not constantly having to adjust it. But when you remove your mask, just touch the ear loops and then keep it like this. And if you can. Look, we're not all going to carry around a paper bag, but if you want to be extra careful, buy the book, then you would put your mask in a paper bag.
Now the germs swishing around there in the bottom?
Well,
Swishing around.
do you remember when we did that swab thing?
Yes.
Can we put up those pictures, by the way? I think this is really helpful, and it was reassuring because we didn't have a lot of bacteria on our masks. Remember, Dylan had nothing on the inside and outside, and then Al, you dodged a bullet because you were doing your shoulder thing, so we didn't have to swab your mask, which was good. But even Craig, Chanel, you and I, we didn't have a whole lot, nothing super harmful. So the main thing is just wash your mask often or throw it away if you're using a disposable one after a few uses.
So at the top of the show, I said I read something in the note, and it gave me kind of an aha moment, if you will. All of my friends, I have, when you first walk into my house, I have a little tray, and it has hand sanitizer, and I have the kids and anybody take off their masks and put them in the tray. But over time, I'll be completely honest, we have a stack full of masks. I mean, cloth masks. Like they just, the kids grab their mask and go, but they're all piled up, and then they have several apiece. So one, I need to wash them, and two, we just have now a whole stack of masks, dirty masks probably.
Yeah, so throw them in the washer if you can, hand wash them if you want, hang them to dry. That's all that you really need to do, and you just want to do it depending on how sweaty you're getting, how often you're using your mask. Just know when it's getting grungy, so wash them.
Yeah.
But the good thing is they're not collecting a ton of bacteria. If you can, store it on a windowsill or hang it on a hook so it's not touching other things. You don't want to stack them up. And you don't want like the moisture and everything.
I have like 6 hanging on a hook. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, that's perfect.
What about latex surgical gloves? CDC isn't recommending them for regular use, but should we be wearing them?
I have gloves right here, Al. I'm so glad you asked that because the CDC says you really shouldn't be wearing gloves unless you're caring for someone who's sick or you're doing cleaning and you just want to protect your hands from chemicals.
Exactly the purpose of them, because it's still a surface that you're touching.
Exactly. There's nothing magical about gloves, right? You can just as easily get sick from touching a dirty glove to your face as you could from touching your hands to your face. Think about it. I'm wearing gloves on a trip to the grocery store. I'm touching the cart. I'm touching the cereal box. Now those two things have contaminated. Then I pick up my phone to check my shopping list. So it's just easiest to wash your hands with soap and water when you get a chance. And by the way, if you do want to wear gloves, you have to really be careful about taking them off properly. This is how you do it. Most people aren't, and then they're ending up contaminating their hands. So you got to pinch the outside of the glove, the dirty part. You want to pull it off so this is like completely inside out. So this hand is clean now. Take your 2 clean fingers, and then you're going to reach under and touch only the clean part of the other glove, and then pull that thing completely off. And so now you've got, and if you're like me, I mean, see, like, it's not easy, right? So then you want to drop this into the garbage can without touching anything. And it's just easier to wash your hands. Use sanitizer until you can get to a sink.
Or you could challenge somebody to do it.
Yeah, right.
There you go. Like that's funny. Put something heavy in there.
Vicky, thank you. You inspired me to
Put your mask on.
I wanted to put on the chart.
Yeah, your mask looks good. It's well. You can talk. It's excellent.
You learned something today.
Always, man.